Brakathia Howell, Brakathia Shai, Brakathia Howell, Brakathia Shai, Brakathia Howell, Brakathia Howell, Bashim Yahushai, Bahashim, Rakakodash, double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone True Well. Salutations to the hopeful elect out there, you Akim Tasadakim that do this thing in the utmost truth and sincerity. I'm the priest Shaman, and this week's topic is just going to be entitled A Looking Glass. Inspiration for the show comes. I was watching the Candle of Zion camp, and I always knew this scripture, but they brought it out, and I was meditating upon it. Like, why would certain way the scriptures are worded, just makes you say, wait a minute, it's linking looking glass with rust, and I didn't notice, but then I thought about it. Like, wait a minute, in the ancient world, mirrors were not made from glass. And it's something so simple, but I was like, it just never crossed my mind. So I'm going to share a little information with you, brothers, and I hope, this lesson is edifying, and it's just quick and to the point, really. But within that time frame, I pray that there's edification. Now I'm going to read Sirach chapter 12, verse 10. It says, "Never trust thine enemy, for like as iron rusteth, so is his wickedness." So iron is bound to rust. It's bound to oxidize. All right. If there's oxygen, then iron will rust. Period. That's how come we know when in the book of James, when it's talk about your gold and silver is cankered, we know that it's not talking about actual gold and silver, but this man's money system, because actual gold and silver, it doesn't oxidize. All right. It says, "Never trust thine enemy, for like as iron rusteth, so is his wickedness." So if his oxygen, he's prone to do wicked. That starts with the so-called white man first and foremost. Or you could have a wicked individual. All right, because a lot of our people are enemies as well, and the other nations are enemies. The only way to stop iron from rusting is getting away from oxygen. You have to put some iron in space or something, which made me come to the conclusion: if you want to stop the so-called white man from his wickedness, put him in outer space. When I say put him in outer space, I mean with no oxygen. Just throw him out there, and they'll put away all the wickedness. Just having fun with it, brothers. Now, verse 11, it says, "Though he humble himself and go crouching, yet take good heed, and beware of him, and thou shalt be unto him as if thou hast wiped a looking glass, and thou shalt know that his rust has not been altogether wiped away." Because in the ancient world, a looking glass or a mirror wasn't made of glass. You had to take very fine polished metals and wipe the hell out of them. Right? The more you pretty much wiped it down, you'll get like a sort of like an obscure reflection. Okay. So you seeing up above ancient world mirrors like these ones, all right, made from bronze, made from different brasses, different metals. I'm pretty sure the upper elites were using even more shinier metals back then. And from there, I want to jump to the next scripture, because that shed some light on that scripture. Like, as you wipe this particular metal down and you get more detail with it because you don't want any rust to show, then you realize, wait a minute, the rust is not altogether wiped because you thoroughly um um you thoroughly examined him. Just like how you thoroughly examine your enemy and seeing that his wickedness is still there, all right? Though it might be hid, but what if you thoroughly examine, you say, wait a minute, there's still a little bit, there's some wickedness there. It's the same thing with these ancient world mirrors or looking glasses, all right? You see a bit of rust, all right? Because what? It's bound to oxidize again. It's bound to rust. Now, with that in mind, what I want to do is, I want to go to the scripture here, and before I go to the commentary, I'm just going to read it. The scripture here in 1 Corinthians 13 and 12. Now, with the understanding of that, we kind of get an idea, all right, of a deeper understanding of what brothers say when they say certain things. This is a book when you study ancient times. This is First Corinthians 13 and 12. It says, "For now we see through a glass darkly." Now, in the ancient time, there were glasses. There were things made of glass, such as glass bottles in the ancient time. All right. Historians have found them. But it's not talking about that. It's talking about a mirror. All right. It's talking about a mirror. See, the Greek word there is a mirror. And when it says darkly, it means like an obscurity, because an obscure version. So if you try to look at yourself in a mirror in the ancient times, or even, I mean, now they kind of, now if you get a brass mirror in this time, they can make it damn near close to looking almost as glass. But black glass is kind of like the best way to get a proper reflection of yourself. Wiping down a metal in these times, even with these technology that we have, you could get a really good image of yourself, but it still be very obscure. So in Paul's time, when this is being written, I didn't include it in my slideshow. So like, I didn't include it in my slideshow, but one of my slideshows, you had a Roman or a Greek pottery, and in the background they showed someone holding one of these ancient type mirrors. But the Apostle Paul was like saying, though we look like in this time, though when we look in the mirror and it's an obscure version of ourselves, that's what he means by darkly. Meaning, if I looked in that mirror, I couldn't really truly see myself that clearly. There's certain things I'm gonna miss, right? And that is so true back then for his time, because there were certain things, scriptures in the Old Testament, that they were getting like a obscure um vision of it. All right, meaning they could partly make it out. They could see it, but they could kind of see it, just like how you would look at yourself in an ancient world mirror. Like you could see yourself, but kind of see yourself, as opposed to having a glass mirror. In this day and age, we have more like a glass mirror. We have a better reflection of ourselves, or a better reflection of prophecy when we look in the mirror. All right. It says, "But then face to face. Now I know in part," just like how you look in the mirror. All right. When it says "know in part," um, like, yeah, they know particularly, like they don't know the full thing, just like they couldn't clearly see breakdowns and understanding of prophecy back then. All right, it wasn't as clear. It will be to that of looking into a mirror. And again, when they say mirror or looking glass, don't think of a modern day mirror today which is made of glass, but think of polished brass. It says, "Now I know in part, but then shall I know, even as I also am known." And as the time is appointed, now the Apostle Paul, which he's here again today, he's looking through a mirror today, but now he could see it more clearly, almost face to face, because a glass mirror pretty much is like you're looking at yourself face to face. Now, when you look in a mirror, right? When you look in the mirror, you don't have the ability to tell the mirror, "Turn around, let me see the back of my head." You just see your mirror, face to face reflection. So what I'm trying to say is, even in this present day, all right, even though it's way more clear than there is back then, you look in the mirror, you can't see the back of your head, so there's still certain things you can't fully see in a perfect mirror, right? Even though you could pretty much damn near see all of yourself, but you can't see all of yourself. Okay? That's how come we twist and turn the mirrors. When the kingdom of heaven established, we're going to have like, how you could walk up to a hologram. Picture walking up to a clear 3D, just holographic, damn near like a clone of yourself, where you can see every single part of your body when you step in front of this mirror. That's going to be our understanding of the kingdom of heaven. But right now we have a clear 2D representation, way clearer than we did back in the ancient times. All right. But we could see way better, meaning the prophecies and understanding of these scriptures. All right. So when, apostles and the brothers and the scribes, when we read these books, compare these scriptures to certain customs, it's really good to look these customs up. And I already knew when I went into commentary, these Bible scholars was going to understand. Not all of them, but a lot of them are gonna understand because they do their digging, man. All right, you have to filter bones, of course, but if they do their digging, they do their digging. Give credit where credit is due. I just went to the bar and see I have a ton of these. I like to see these particular commentaries from the 1800s, and I always recommend brothers use these by my sword app. But jumping down to the point right here, it says the word glass here, estopron, means properly a mirror, a looking glass. The mirrors of the ancient times were usually made of polished metals. See? Exodus 13:38 and 8, it says, and he made the laver of brass, and the foot of it of brass, and the looking glass of the woman assembly. So again, the mirrors, which assembled at the door of the tabernacle of the congregation. So these things were made of brass back then, very, very polished brass, man. All right, but we know that brass eventually rusts. So eventually that mirror is, it's going to be very obscure. Just like how today our mirrors get dirty. Sometimes you have to put some rubbing alcohol or spray some type of stuff on your mirror so you can kind of get clear a version of yourself. If you leave a mirror unattended, the vision of yourself, the reflection of yourself, becomes more and more obscure. Another point. This is Job 37:18. Hast thou with him spread out the sky, which is strong, and as a molting looking glass. See that? A molting looking glass. So mirrors were made from metals. And one of the things, see, this is a modern day version of somebody trying to recreate that up top right here. And one of the slides, what I see, he's making it. That's how things were done back then. That's how the looking glass was made back then. And one of the things I want to do is, this is the picture I want to use. I want to use this because even a sword, all right? Because guess what? A sword is, the difference is, something called stainless steel. All right. See, iron is a metal. Stainless steel is an alloy. So it's 95%, or 90 to 95% iron, and the metal that they alloy it with is I think chromium, right? But what makes stainless steel why it's called stainless steel is because it doesn't oxidize. They alloyed it with different metal to the point that it doesn't oxidize. Hence, it's always clear. All right. So if if they were alloying them, so the point is, these the stainless steel, okay, was, you could see it as a reflection. You could see metals being used as reflections, some clearer than others. Okay, and it alludes to the analogy used in Ecclesiasticus. Okay, just like how you would polish this mirror, you could find that the rust, even though you wiped it down and stuff like that, but if you thoroughly do some wiping, you see, wait a minute, the rust is not altogether wiped away. It's very hard to wipe away every single, because it's gonna rust. Like mirrors are just gonna get dirty. All right. In modern days times, it will be the equivalent of me saying, like, you wipe the mirror, then you keep wiping, and you realize that, listen, not all the smudge off the mirror is gone. All right. So when it says looking glass, it's talking about an ancient world brass metals. And again, in 1 Corinthians 13 and 12, when the Apostle Paul says, though we see through a glass darkly, it's talking about, again, these a brass looking glass in the ancient times, which is which gave you an obscure version of your reflection. And today, we pretty much, in terms of prophecy, have a glass mirror where we could damn near see ourselves, everything we need to see, see ourselves very clearly. All right, you go in front of a mirror today, you can see yourself very clearly. And here at Great Millstone, we got the most polished mirror. All right, we got the most clearest vision of ourselves. These other niggas, they got dirty mirrors, dirty ass fogged up mirrors. Okay, but here at Great Millstone, through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashim Yahshua, we have clean mirrors. And but just like how, if I was to approach a very clean mirror today, I can't see the back of my head, man. All right, unless I use like multiple mirrors. But even then, I'll kind of have to move around and stuff. All right, so meaning, even though we have a very clear interpretation of these scriptures, there's still certain things that's hid from us. Just like when the scriptures say what the angels uttered. All right, the scriptures also speak about certain books that Ezra's written that were put away. That's the equivalent of you going in front of a mirror and trying to see the back of your head. You can't. But the time will come where we're gonna in the kingdom where the mirrors are gonna be so advanced that when you step in front of it, it's gonna be like a 3D hologram, clear representation of yourself. So in the kingdom of heaven, we're gonna know it all. All right, just like the analogy I made. All right. Hey, so with that, I hope this was edifying. I'm gonna give all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash, with double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, which you well, and salutations to the hopeful elect out there. You Akim to Zadakim that do this thing, the utmost truth and sincerity. Shalom.